You are live, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. A very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session of Meet with Digital Thinkers. I hope you all are doing safe and your friends and family are also safe at home. Presenting the next in our series of Meet with Digital Thinkers Fireside Chat, and we are going to showcase today a company, or rather two digital thinkers, two digital leaders who are transforming business using technology. But before I introduce them, I want to just take a few minutes to set the context for what we are going to be discussing today. And as we look at businesses navigating through the uncertainty today, maintaining business continuity is really the key. And one major factor that determines business continuity amidst this uncertainty is collaboration. And today, more than ever, the need for collaboration is crucial to ensure zero disruption to business. However, as organizations undergo growth and expansion, managing collaboration between a large and a geographically dispersed workforce can be a huge roadblock. And as organizations have built legacy systems over a period of time, this challenge is further compounded. Most often, these legacy IT systems are unable to keep up with the growth and expansion and support the expectations around speed, agility, and flexibility that today's collaborative environments require. And the COVID-19 pandemic has proven the inadequacy of the legacy systems as businesses were required to manage the entire workforce to work remotely. So all this ultimately ends up impacting productivity and efficiency. So what can really help businesses push the boundaries of collaboration to empower business transformation is cloud. Now, having said that, one key factor that determines the success of your collaboration journey on cloud is effectively managing the change. And the organization that we are bringing under spotlight today has successfully walked that journey. The organization that I'm referring to here is the Kirloskar Group, one of India's leading business conglomerates with a rich heritage spanning over a century. And to talk about the group's cloud journey and how G Suite helped establish a truly collaborative culture across the group, I have the privilege of having with me Alika Kirloskar, General Manager of Business Development at Kirloskar Group. Alika leads the Kirloskar Group's design and architecture, where she creates plans and design strategies to develop cohesive and aesthetically pleasing environments. She focuses on the style and look of the projects while adhering to functional and environmental aspects for standardization across the group, overseeing design alterations to existing spaces as well as new offices. She is also responsible for implementing digital transformation initiatives to drive value creation and improve customer service. Alika is also involved in the group's efforts on websites, social media, and branding. Thank you so much, Alika, for taking out time today to join us for this fireside chat. Along with Alika, I also have the pleasure of having with me Mridul Sharma, Chief Operating Officer, Arka FinCap Limited, which is a Kirloskar Group company. Mridul has been the Chief Operating Officer at Arka FinCap since Jan 2019 and is responsible for building the technology and operations capabilities aimed at bettering client experience through use of digital technologies. He is also responsible for digital capability build-out for the Kirloskar Group companies. And during his over 20 years of experience in banking and financial services industry, he has worked with leading financial organizations like IndusInd Bank, Barclays, Tata AIG, General Insurance, ABN AMRO, and Bank of America. Welcome, Mridul. And to take the discussion forward and understand Kirloskar Group's cloud journey, I would like to invite Heather Emzil, Head of G Suite Apac for Google Cloud. Heather has over 20 years of experience in the software industry and over 6 years of experience in the public cloud services. She is the Apac Head of Collaboration and Productivity for Google Cloud and part of the Google Cloud leadership team. At Google, she is accountable for the customer retention and new customer acquisition. Prior to Google, Heather was at Microsoft for 12 years, where most recently she led the Office 365 solution sales team for Apac. So welcome, Heather. And before I hand it over to our esteemed speakers, I want to request all of you that this is a great opportunity. If you have any questions for Alika, for Mridul, or for Heather, do type in your questions in the Q&A box that is there in front of you, and we will take up those questions towards the end during the Q&A session. So till then, Heather, I'll hand it over to you here to take it forward.
Thank you, Shipra. Really great intro. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really great to be here today, and I'm really excited to have our customer, Kirloskar, with us today. So without further ado, firstly, I'd like just to introduce Mridul Sharma, who you'll see, and then as well as Alika Kirloskar again, to thank you for joining us. Alika, my first question is for you. With the Kirloskar Group being one of India's largest conglomerates, as well as one of the oldest companies spanning over a century, can you maybe take us through the group's evolution from its inception in 1888 into its wide business interests? Excuse me.
Yeah, hi Heather. Thanks for having us. So I'll try to keep this as brief as possible, but it's a long journey since 1888. So my great-great-grandfather, Lakshmanrao Kirloskar, was the founder of the Kirloskar Group and the township of Kirloskar Wadi, which was also amongst India's first industrial townships. The journey began in 1888 with a small bicycle repair shop in Belgaum, Karnataka. Lakshmanrao strongly believed that agricultural implements must fit the environment they are used in. So that prompted him to manufacture chaff cutters and India's first iron plow, which was also the first Kirloskar product. So the plow was originally intended as an aid to essential aid to agriculture, but it soon became an icon of reform and revolution. Lakshmanrao incorporated Kirloskar Brothers in Kirloskar Wadi in 1920 for manufacturing pumps and agricultural equipment. Kirloskar Wadi is in Kolhapur, near Kolhapur in Maharashtra. Lakshmanrao's son, Shantanu Kirloskar, or SLK as he was popularly known, played a vital role in the growth of the Indian industry and agriculture in the 20th century. He hastened India on a path to economic success and worked towards making India globally competitive. SLK developed KBL with a worldwide marketing network. He established Kirloskar Oil Engines in 1946 in collaboration with Associated British Oil Engines Export in the UK, and this collaboration was the first of its kind between an Indian and a foreign company. KOEL manufactured India's first vertical high-speed engine, and by the 60s, KOEL was the largest diesel engine factory in India with the highest export earnings. SLK was a pioneer in exporting engineering goods. He exported the first consignment of diesel engines to Germany in the early 1950s. In the 60s, KOEL took over FH Schul in Germany and invested in other businesses like GG Dandekar, which manufactures rice mills and food product machinery. To promote exports, offices and assembly plants were set up overseas at a time when globalization was scarce, even in developed countries. He then went on to establishing Kirloskar Pneumatic in 1958, manufacturing air compressors, air conditioning and refrigeration systems, process gas systems, transmission systems. And most of these products were later added on by the fourth generation, which is SLK's grandsons. SLK incorporated Kirloskar Cummins, and Cummins' entry into India is largely due to Robert Hutsteiner's close ties with SLK, being a classmate of his at MIT. Robert was the president of Cummins USA at the time, and the partnership allowed Cummins to further their global marketing strategy. We divested our stake in Cummins later on. SLK's son, Chandrakant Kirloskar, was a visionary who carried forward the legacy, strongly believing that sustained growth could only be achieved through being self-reliant and self-sufficient. He worked as a deputy to his father and built Cummins to what it is. Unfortunately, he passed away before his time, prompting SLK to train his grandsons, which is my father and uncles, to continue growing our legacy. So the fourth generation, Atul and Rahul Kirloskar and Gautam Kulkarni, continued to develop the companies and established 3 more, primarily engaging in the manufacture of capital goods and agricultural equipment, with some products being the first manufactured in India, like our centrifugal chillers and factory packaged screw chillers. Offices in America, South Africa, Dubai, and Thailand were set up to further expand growth operations. My father and uncles also incorporated an educational institute for postgraduate diploma in management, an NBFC, Arca FinCap, where Mridul works, and we will also be venturing into real estate. So the legacy continues to be passed on, and my generation is involved in developing different aspects of the business, one of them being digital transformation.
Well, it sounds like it's been innovation at the core of the business, and then also just taking those risks at the right time, not and calculated risks. It sounds like an awesome journey, one to definitely be proud of. Mridul, my question for you. You've recently decided to modernize your IT systems to transform the way people work. Why did you find G Suite to be the right fit to enable the organization?
Hi, Heather. So thanks for having us over, and happy, to have done this project here. This was one of the first group-wide implementations that we did, and Alika participated with us on that. Now, to come to this point, I'll take a step back and I'll go back 2 to 3 years. So in my last avatar as head of technology for IndusInd Bank, we had a large footprint, and as it so happens, and which is your last employer, Microsoft has been in our lives for a pretty long time. So typically, any large organization will have a large Microsoft footprint, and typically you will see that email and such systems are typically running on Microsoft, and and a lot of office collaboration works on Office products. Now that is where I started seeing other technologies in that area for the first time. And that is where I started looking at saying that what is it that we can do differently in this area. When we got the opportunity to set up Arca FinCap from scratch up, I think by the time I had it very clear in my head, and that was through my personal experimentation with the technology, that maybe now it has come to a point where it is ready for an enterprise class deployment. So in fact, on Arca, when I first met the CEO, even before I joined in, and he said, yes, we will be starting operations and we need to do some stuff, and we need to set up now emails and domains. So, I, in fact, there and then, in the next half an hour, had, done the account setup on G Suite and using my credit card, and said, okay, here it is, and let's start going. So that is where the, the journey started. 1 year working again, the Arca FinCap team, we then, stepped into saying that how do we do it group wide? Group wide, and I'll cover that a little later, but primarily, why, we said we will use G Suite is that first is that, and something which has actually helped us, in good stead in this time of lockdown is the full, I would say, a client-less virtualization of the workspace with no device dependence. So, when, for example, now COVID happened and a lot of people were actually in their homes, and some of them, who had on the desktop environments had no access to it, and they were to operate from home, a lot of businesses came to a standstill. So this is something which really helps, where any device you pick up, you just open the Chrome browser, log in with your account, and your workspace opens up. Second, most important that has happened in this environment is that we had to now look at a dispersed workforce out of the physical domains of the office. And that is where you have, I would say, duality of challenges. One is to make sure that they are able to work and have access to everything that they have need to work on. And second thing is that, how do you ensure the security of the company data and the processes? And that is again somewhere where with the integrated MDM, the device policy framework, where we can safely extend that to any of the mobile devices with control. Third would be when I have used other products and I use this one. I was pretty clear that if I have to collaborate on something, like I have to create a proposal on a document, or I have to create a presentation, or create a Excel workbook that I'm working upon, the experience on Drive was definitely much better. I could far better way control access. Who can be an editor, who can just see it, to whom I am sharing it with. We can work at the same time. And centrally to the people who are supposed to actually do the IT admin of it, we saw a huge amount of granularity in the controls I could do on the Chrome browser, on the devices, and on the devices. Typically, when you put MDMs, employees, because it is their personal devices, sometimes get a little hassled. What is the kind of stuff that you're trying to control on my personal device? So I would say, clean bifurcation of the workspace from the personal space, the employee also gets full benefit. And the confidence saying, yes, you are restricted to, and I've got full, as a company admin, I've got full access, what is residing on your own company part of the, mobile phone. Lastly, I think in all our, past experiences, we always have dealt with, crashed hard disks, loss of data, paying, thousands of rupees or dollars trying to retrieve the data, and it's, pretty, common feature. Now the point, if I am able to, back up the data and stuff is on the drive and it is getting saved by the minute, by the second, in fact, you don't have to ever deal with, that loss of data or any device, the failure of a device. And this is again something which has happened so much in this time of lockdown, when, people's, the devices, the company devices conged off, their chargers conged off. Right. So, in fact, they could pick up any device, even a 7-year-old laptop which is lying somewhere gathering dust. You just, power it up, go in, download the browser, log in, and your work is up on. So, these are few things, which made my resolve very clear, saying now maybe the time has come that we should actually, work on this technology and make, that change possible.
Awesome. Thank you. So just to summarize, it was the ease of setting up, especially in a distributed force, some of the controls and the security controls that you had, both just to manage desktops through MDM, but as well as some of the drive areas. Collaboration, to be honest, that's my personal favorite. It's one of the reasons I probably can never go back, is just that ability to work together seamlessly in a group. Some of the features around Chrome browser and the fact that it was on the cloud, so you didn't have to worry about resources, etc. So thank you for sharing. Alika, you were also on this journey with Murdal. What made you decide to support the G Suite solution?
So this is on the similar lines as what Mridul mentioned, but in the past we faced issues, with email storage and video conferencing, a storage, like an absence of cloud storage solutions for our data, and I think streamlined communication and collaboration the collaboration was like a big point of it. And I think we also used to use our email for basically everything. Like with G Suite, you have chat, you have all these different applications. You don't have to just send out an email. So that was also really good. And I think the need for a solution for this really arose because of COVID-19 and the lockdown. And I also think G Suite is very beneficial for cost optimization, data security, and ease of use as well.
Okay.
And I think I wanted to discuss our experience transitioning as well. It was very smooth, and it wouldn't have been possible without the Sears team and the Arca team. And the migration was basically done in 3 batches. First, we migrated the IT teams from all the companies and the people involved in this particular project in order to receive feedback before migrating everyone else. So then came the CXOs and senior management, and lastly, the rest of our employees. And as different groups were migrated, the Sears team conducted trainings on Google Meet, on the collaboration tools, on Gmail, and the other applications. And yeah, so it was a great experience. It was very smooth.
Fantastic, thank you. I think just one thing for the audience, I will get to this later, but a lot of this was all of this was done during the COVID-19 crisis. So the team were leveraging the tools at the same time to help them with their experience. Right, thank you. Murdal, the next question is for you. How has the move to G Suite helped establish a truly collaborative culture and embrace the future of work within the group? Can you share some examples and improvements around a few metrics?
Sure, Heather. So again, as Alika said that, and what I was also talking before is that we first kind of established this at Arca FinCap. Now, when the lockdown happened end March, you have your board meetings to happen for the last financial year, which ends in 31st of March. From the Arca standpoint, we quickly set it up because luckily we didn't have to flick even a single switch to kind of enable work from home because everything was available on the employee devices on internet. Now, other group companies, which typically, you have the environment wherein, there is a physical conference room and you need to step in and somebody sets up the call for you. If that room is not available, you have to wait for your video call time. Now this kind of environment, now the video conference room is in the office, and nobody can go to the office. So how do these meetings happen? And that is how kind of the request came to us saying that we need to move the group onto that. So now when we took that call, and this is I would say end May finally when we said okay, we are doing it. We did it over the month of June and July, and it happened with training almost 3,000 people across 4 large group companies and smaller groups, spread across different locations. And the key thing is that nobody met anybody face to face. Neither the project team members, neither partners, nobody. Everything happened on Google Meet, and we were able to kind of put it all together. Now coming to setting in a culture of collaboration. And how do you embrace it? So one, I would say, good part that happened is that it is like a demand that came our way. People were now with an open mind. Otherwise, everybody will say, okay, why are you trying to change? This is something which is working. Now the point is, things are not working. So maybe there's an on-prem Exchange server, and the server is playing up, and the engineer can't go there. So at least the first opening up happened, wherein people said, yes, please do something. And then, we orchestrated in a way, and what Alika just now talked about is that after our first group, which was actually IT users, we did not then start from the bottom up. We started top down. And we started top down because I felt that if this acceptance does not happen from the top down, then, things don't move. So we, in fact, right from the family office to, all the CXOs, and I think that was one of the biggest trainings that we carried out. There were almost 120 participants, from the family office to all the CEOs, MDs, company secretaries, CFOs, their teams downwards, wherein they attended 2 sessions of 1.5 hours each. So, senior management invested in their time, almost 3 hours over a week to get trained on this. And second thing is that now with the training coming in, it is about people starting to getting to use, and that messaging, Alika has been very particular in making sure that messaging goes out from the top. So if she starts using chat, if she stops, using attachments on emails and actually starts putting stuff on the drive and saying, okay, come here and, put your stuff, the message goes out loud and clear saying, guys, this is how we'll operate now. So it's not that, you buy a car and bring it and, park it in the garage and feel happy about it. You start using it there and then, right? Now, as we go along, I think people are realizing that there are always some hiccups because, it takes time for you to, get your hand dirty because maybe some option was here and now it is there. It's a matter of time. Provided, what you put into place, you are sure about that, then definitely I think it's the road clear, and then, you can drive at the speed that you want to drive on that.
Great. So it sounds like it was a lot of the tools being able to facilitate remote working and leadership from the top. I must say that's something that is very common in many of the G Suite successful implementations, is that buy-in at the top on a leadership perspective. So thank you for that. Alika, a little bit more around change management. I think the Kaliska story is a great example of, or great lesson in effective change management. How did you overcome the challenge of changing the culture of the organization? And was there any resistance that came along the way?
Yeah, so again, this is working off some of the points that Mridul mentioned. But so basically, first, what we had done, like as a family, as we were moving towards, an environment of streamlined communication and collaboration between the group, we had evaluated G Suite, and because it has a lot of tools to make this possible. So we did a cost analysis coupled with the features, and realized the benefits. And we used that to convince our CXOs and senior management that this is a great tool for our organization. So again, this has to be done from the top down, and the only way is to have them lead the change. We have to pass it down to them. So for effective change management, there has to be that clear buy-in from the top. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And that's another reason the CXOs with the second batch to be migrated as well, so that they could enforce G Suite as the only way for communication and collaboration. And I think another thing that we did was we had asked them to nominate Google champions within the companies, and those champions got further training to provide support internally. So I think that also helped out a little bit. But, as you know, change is never easy, especially for like a 130-year-old business like ours. So a lot of our colleagues did embrace the change, but there is still some resistance, but that's expected. It'll take some time, but I think we'll get there eventually.
Great, thank you. So as I alluded to earlier, you decided to go G Suite in the middle of COVID-19 lockdown. I think it's a really brave person, but at the same time, I think hearing you, it was something that you needed to do to keep the business going. Can you share your experience, Mridul, around that and how you were able to do this remote transition of 3,000 users in 8 weeks with zero downtime and data loss?
So Heather, the confidence to take it on like this came from a core belief that this is going to work, and this is something which we believe is the right path to take. So that's very important. The core team has to have that conviction, saying that you are putting everybody on the right path. Now, even when we were evaluating it, there were certain questions, but we were able to kind of give them the right answers on that. What happens is sometimes users see what is just in front of them. So, I am able to kind of do this on Word, or I'm able to do this, I am not able to do it this way or that way. But from an overall standpoint, from an enterprise standpoint, I have to be cognizant about, data security. I have to see, how I am kind of extending this to employee workplaces. I have to, take into account the risks of malware, and such phishing and other spam delivery that actually happens on the email. Now, typically, when you have to do this kind of stuff, you have to put multiple components, and I've seen many of those multiple layers actually not performing the way, because they are separate components, they don't talk to each other. So we were able to tell people, saying this is a comprehensive one wherein we take care of extending the workplace to you. We take care of security. We take care of your anti-malware stuff. We take care of your spam. So everything comes together in one place. Coming to then saying, okay, these are the 3,000 people. We quickly put together a team with representatives from all group companies. Again, they were junior guys, IT operations people, but we were able to give them the right inputs. They were able to put stuff together, and using again collaboration technologies on Google Drive, on sites. So we were able to put together a portal get collaborative worksheets in place wherein data could be quickly put together, have forms built out, Google Forms, wherein if something had to be sought from end users, we were able to kind of do that. And then it is like, norming and forming and storming is something that we did. So I think that people were clear. Sears team played a very good role in kind of, again, it's like an orchestra playing, and, you have to see that every part of the orchestra, plays to, how the tune has to come out. And that is where both, the Kirloskar Group teams, the project team, and, the Sears team work together in ensuring that 3,000 people get scheduled out, they get trained. There were times when people didn't have access to bandwidth and stuff. How do we reschedule them? And it was done, and then, setting their credentials in place, getting the credentials across to them, getting them logged on to, the new account without they coming into the office. And it also happened because it was easy. So a lot of people today carry Android phones, and, using that, setting a Google account was not that big of a hassle. We also, use this opportunity to get in the security mindset in place by ensuring that two-factor authentication actually becomes mandatory. So we kind of maybe did it around 2 weeks optional, and then by the end of July we kind of went into that. Third thing is that when you open up a new road or a new path, and you had an old road or an old bridge also in place, if you keep both of them open, you will see traffic actually continuing to use the old roads also. Now, if you have to shut down the old road, you have to, ensure that the new road is capable of taking the full traffic, and it is a good road. So then what we did is, end July, we were very clear, we actually shut down the old roads. So rather than continuing some stuff in parallel and some exchange servers, we shut down those servers. So we said, it is end of story. Whatever we had to migrate your mails, we have migrated. Whatever is your archived PSTs, you keep with you for reference. But from this day onward, we live the new life. And that is how, because if you don't dirty your hands, you will always continue to compare stuff, and you will never be comfortable on what you have to use. So I think this is a combination using which we were able to move these 3,000 people across. Trainings, feedback were taken, so any place where people felt that we need more, and we continue to do that today also. So we have sent up a central help desk. If there is any queries coming, so governance control has to continue to happen. There are still some people who wake up late and say, okay, why this and how that. So we give them the rationale behind that. So the key thing is, you should be very clear of what is the rationale, and you should yourself be confident this is what is the right, maybe the time has come for this one to be tried out now, and then move forward with that.
Great, thank you very much for sharing, Murdal. Alika, Murdal, that's all the questions I had for you. I'm now going to hand over back to Shipra.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Heather.
Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you, Alika and Mridul, for this wonderful discussion and for taking us through this amazing transformation journey enabled by cloud. I think what makes it truly special is the fact that this journey was undertaken against all odds in the middle of the pandemic lockdown. And the way you have effectively dealt with change management is a great lesson for other organizations to learn from. Those who are listening to this session can have a lot of key takeaways to take back with them. And thanks, Heather, for that, for really bringing out the essence of Kirloskar's journey on cloud. Now, having heard about Kirloskar's journey, and it's really about getting optimizing and maximizing the results that you have set out to achieve with cloud, and a partner plays a key role in enabling that. And therefore, I would like to invite Shashi Tripathi, Senior Director Sales at Sears, to really talk about a little about this journey, as well as to talk about Sears. Shashi has over 20 years of digital and IT sales experience. He has worked with companies like Oracle on mobile and Google in sales management, channels management, operations and people management. Shashi has worked with customers across BFSI, travel, telecom, digital advertising, manufacturing, IT, ITES across different geographical regions, India, Southeast Asia, Africa, and Europe. So before I hand over to Shashi, if you have any questions so far, please do send them to us over the Q&A box. So after Shashi's presentation, we will take up these questions during the Q&A session. So Shashi, over to you.
Thank you, Shipra. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
All right. Thank you again. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Alika and Vidul. And to all the folks out there on the link and while you're watching, a very good afternoon to all of you. And I'm hoping that, this session is right up your alley as you move into the long weekend. Let me present, and Shipra, just point me out if my screen becomes visible. I'm trying to make, once it just does, I'll get started.
Sure.
Is my screen visible now?
It is. It's just processing. Just a second.
Yeah. It's there?
Yes, it's visible.
Awesome. All right. All right. Thank you very much. So, folks and Team Kirloskar, Sears, we call ourselves improvers. This is a company which is trying to better things and better way of doing things all the time. But that's besides the point, right? What we believe in as an organization, Sears believes that we are a very, very competent, able, and a strong partner for collaboration and cloud space for Google Cloud. And at times, Google and at times our customers do ratify and validate this belief for us, and that's what keeps us going. And while you all heard Alika and Mridul, talk to Heather about how their journey was, there are a couple of things which really I loved about this organization and whatever they have done so far. There are lots of parallels, but companies which started pre-independence India, right, have always contributed to some kind of a revolution. And if you take up the first iron plow that this company built, or the first diesel engine, or the first electric engine that Kirloskar brought to it, I can 100% assure you, and I'm sure you would believe, that this organization has played its part in the green revolution or the agricultural revolution of India, and has also had its hands and legs in the industrial revolution of the country. So Group Kirloskar, please keep enriching lives. And we are really, really proud that we have been able to do any bit of little service with you guys. We really take a lot of pride in that. These customer patrons, my dear friends, are the guys or are the folks who keep us going. And just like Kirloskar, a lot of customer patrons are there. To be honest, Google has more than 2,000 customers. We have been working with Google and Google Cloud for the last 14, 15 years and amassed a very credible source of customer list. And customers from all walks of life, right? Whether it is an industry vertical, manufacturing, airlines, media, the digital natives or the new age economy companies, you name it, and all of them have been our customers, and we have paid a little bit of part in whatever they are doing. And that's not to say that we have taken them where they are, but we are happy in their journey to be part of their journey. And some of these logos, while you see on the slide, are exactly a testimony to the kind of efforts, the kind of activity and the quality of job that Sears is doing. These have been our customers. The one part which I'll highlight on these slides, unlike any other product which you sell and go away, cloud products or SaaS products or subscription products, you have to keep engaging with these customers year on year, service them, keep them happy, keep them warm. And there's never a dull moment or a dull day in these relationships. And some of these relationships are pretty long, right? They can range from 5 years, 6 years. Some customers who might be on G Suite or what used to be called as Google for Work or Enterprise. There are lots of such customers who have been here for us with multi-years. So that's also a testimony. It's not one time. We don't just deliver and forget. We are with you with your journey as you go forward. And we have seen a lot of these customers start with 50 users, 100 users, 200 users, and scale up to 1,000 and 10,000. And as their organizations have grown, we have taken pride, or rather, we have been really, really proud that we have been part of the journey. That's what, that's what has made Sears what it is. A company today with 2,000 plus customers. That's probably the crux of it, but that is what has helped it expand to 5 countries. Here in India, to about totally 5 countries and 14 locations. And as I mentioned, improvers, there are about 600 improvers in this organization, and we are growing. Time and again, quite a lot of time, Google has taken note of our work and has lauded us, and basically have been, egging us and, providing us with all the kudos of the kind of work that we have been doing, and that keeps us going. I'll spend a little bit of time on this slide because I had 10 minutes and I decided to spend about a couple of minutes here. Any organization, friends, typically has two sets of people, and I'm talking of enterprises here, companies, right? One which are the sets of folks who are enabling IT, right? And that starts with your COO, information officer, CIO, CDO, digital officer, and their offices, right? Their teams. That's one set of folks who are providing IT services to the organizations. And at the other end of the spectrum are the users of all those IT services which is being provided by the team. You know, the important point which has evolved, the users of the IT of an organization or the IT technology of an organization have transcended the borders of the organization. Today, customers, partners, dealers are part of your organization, and they all want to interact, work, and have a direct relationship with the company, right? And these two folks need a lot of support in terms of technology, in terms of architecture, in terms of applications. Google has been at the forefront of providing lots of services. Whether you look at the basic infrastructure and basic technology, you talk of security and monitoring, VPNs, identity, Active Directory, as you may say so. All of these services, right, in some sense of the semblance, is all available on the Google Cloud G Suite integrated platform. These are all available, right? And there are always basic principles of how Google has evolved these products. They are not the same. When the product was developed on the cloud or the whole cloud, which was cloud natively, each of these products and their basic principles are also a little different from the traditional enterprise products that you would see coming in from a lot of legacy players. But it doesn't stop there. Whether it is hosting, right? You want to fine tune your enterprise applications. You want to make your enterprise application talk to each other. All of this, of whatever you require, has been made available by Google, right? The clients, the touch points, these services have to be reached out, and the clients of the IT or the stakeholders of the IT team, they have to touch each of this enterprise IT through some of the devices. They have to find out every piece of application, every piece of information which is there in the enterprise, to use it, to leverage it, to mine it, and to make meaningful decisions. And Google plays an amazing role in all of this. There's cloud search as a product available. If you want to ever build up a Google search-like ability within the organization, pick up cloud search. There is Chrome available and Android Enterprise available to build applications, right? Or access applications. Virtual desktops are available if you're using desktop as a service. All of those touch points are available for you. And to tie it all, right, the G Suite platform is not only a communications platform, not only a document building platform, but it is much more than that. If you actually take the entirety of what G Suite or the collaboration platform of what Google offers, it offers all of these things, right? These some products which are allied, some part of the core of G Suite, some are allied to G Suite, but at the whole spectrum level, if you had to build up an enterprise collaboration strategy or renew it totally or rethink it totally, Google's suite of products will be able to do that. And the best part of this, you can point pick each of these solutions. You don't have to go whole hog, right? Kirloskar today here have picked up the G Suite enterprise collaboration portion of it. Somebody has picked up cloud search. People might be picking only Chrome devices. You can just use beyond code. You can just use the hosting infrastructure part of it. Whichever may be your reason, whichever may be your outcome that you're looking at, right? Google provides the solutions, and we, being a preferred partner of Google Cloud and Google Collaboration Enterprise Suite, are there to pick up those use cases and help you across there. So feel free, if you believe there is any pressure within your organization in any of these areas, you want to rethink, you want to redesign, you just want to have a conversation, we would love to have a conversation along with you. Not to say that we just do collaboration space, right? The entire GCP platform of Google Cloud, which consists of more than 130, 140 services. If you ever wanted infrastructure, if you ever wanted data, you ever wanted to build a data lake, data pipeline, you wanted to pick up of your annual AI or ML projects, do give us a ring. We'll be more than happy to sit through, listen to you, and devise something for you. My portion of it of how do we do it, right? As an organization, 15, 14-year-old, right, working through with Google, the most innovative organization that, and I have been an employee of Google, so I can definitely tell you, right, the organization's DNA is very different. I have worked with legacy companies and with Google. The organizations and the legacies are very, very different. How does Sears do things, right? If you have a problem, if you definitely have an issue in the area of collaboration space, in the area of cloud space, do call us. We'll sit through you, listen to it, right? And advisory part of the story definitely is up the sleeves, and we can help you with that. But we don't stop at reports. That's not a core competency. 25-page reports to 250-page report is not what we want to do for you. We want to go there, devise your deployment plan. We can provide you managed services on what we deploy, right? And we'll help you optimize as well if there is already an established setup. So whatever may be your requirement in the collaboration space, in the cloud space, with the methodology of consult, deploy, manage, and optimize, we should be able to solve your problems up what is happening out there. What my ask of all of you, if you really think if there is any hot buttons that I have pressed, right, in terms of your corporate requirements, you can fix up an appointment with any of our cloud consultant, and we would love to have a working session with our cloud architects to solve your collaboration or your cloud problem. My email address and my phone number is right out there. The team is available, but feel free to give me a ring and a call from there. I want to spend my, or rather end, not spend, but end my presentation with just two thoughts, friends. And the first thought is, and this is a very strong belief which all of you will always agree to it, right? Collective intelligence far, far outweighs individual brilliance. Imagine if you had 5,000, 6,000, from 500 to 5,000 or 50,000 folks, and if all the brilliant minds in your organizations could be put to work together, right? The kind of change, the kind of impact that you would be able to have on your business and when your customers will be phenomenal. And Google's G Suite helps you harness that collective intelligence. So please look at that tool into a different light and a different way. The second part which I want to leave that is partner like us. Sears is a company, and I'm borrowing this adage or this line from one of the companies which I have seen, and I'm borrowing this up, but I can't express it better than this. As an organization, we are large enough to deliver, but we are small enough to care for every collaboration and a cloud problem which may have. I'll stop there. Thank you very much for your time. As you move to your long weekend, I'll hand it over to Shipra for further.
Thank you so much, Shashi, for taking us through Sears' offerings, and also, how organizations can approach their journey to cloud. So with that, we come to the last part of our session, which is the Q&A section, and we have been receiving some questions from the audience. So Alika, there is one question for you, which I want to bring up. The person wants to know that we have been on Office 365 for years, and being a traditional company, there is a lot of resistance to move to any other solution. So what would be your suggestion to handle this? Was there any positive feedback from your employees you can share after you moved?
Yeah, so I think that, one way is that, so the issue with us as well in O365, the main reason we moved to G Suite is because of the collaboration tools that were there. And I think we found it a lot easier to use as well than O365. We did have O365 in licenses in some of the companies, and there wasn't really much of a clear form of using everything. Like most of the applications weren't even used. And basically, I think one way that can help them transition is to, look into the G Suite features, because it really did help us. Because I just feel like one of the main points of it is the ease of use. It's very easy to use. It's very easy to pick up. Like, I think for our generation, it was easier than, my father, but even for them, it was very easy to transition. So I think they should just look at G Suite further and explore that as an option.
Great. Thanks for your response, Alika, on that. So Mridul, there is a question for you, which is that why did you decide to migrate during the pandemic when people are working remotely? I think you did answer some of that during the session, but if you can elaborate a bit more on your decision to migrate during this pandemic.
Yeah, so, as I had said before, it is that work had come to a standstill. There were certain on-site systems which were not operating the way they should have been operating, because people were not able to reach out. There were video conferencing which was truly not working, from any device. people, some of them were working off desktops and they had no device at home. So that was the environment where the situation got created that if we have to work, if we have to carry out our board meetings, we have to carry out our management team meetings, if we have to have our basic email working, we need to move to something which works in this environment. And that is where we took a call that, we will move to people during the pandemic because we need to make them productive. Second thing we also did together is that till now, every company in the group was, in a different island. So now what we did is we combined them together into one group. So we moved them into one domain, which is kirloskar.com, and we made sure that even across the companies, that collaboration could happen between employees because now you're part of the same group. So the document sharing, for example, if I say it is available to everybody within kirloskar.com, everybody, part of any employee of any group company can access it. So primarily, as I said before, it was to make sure that work happens and work continues, and how do we enable people on any device that they have at home.
Great, great. I think that really clarifies, the reason for going for G Suite during the pandemic. Heather, there is a question for you, and it is that, do we need to work with a partner if we want to move to G Suite, or can we engage directly with the Google team?
So our preference is to work through partner, and a partner brings so much more to the party in terms of they can help you along that journey, helping you with change management, helping you with implementation, etc. So we generally will work with our partners during the sales cycle. So during the Kaliska sale, Viranchi from my team worked very closely with the Sears team in driving and working on the offer that we put to the party. But post the sale, our team is there to support, but it's the Sears team who have done a lot of the hard work with the team.
So on that note, Shashi, I want to ask you specifically, actually there's a question for you specifically relating to the change, doing the change management remotely in case of Kirloskar. While Mridul gave his point of view, the person wants to know that how easy or difficult was it for Sears to do the change management remotely?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question. And our views are, I think, very much in line with what Mridul said. It would have been much tougher had it not been with likes of Mridul and Alika, right? Because two things came together primarily. The first part of it is, as Mridul mentioned, the demand, right? There was demand. It was a season or the times of COVID, wherein people knew something different had to be done, and they were open. The first part of this was openness to accepting a new tool or a system. But a couple of more things, right, which added to this whole story. If you look at the product, Shipra, and I think the users can corroborate for themselves, this is a product which was built cloud native up. So as a product, this is there for collaboration, right? Your ERP systems are your methods or your systems of transactions, right? There could be systems of communication, but G Suite is a system of collaboration. Now, if I cannot collaborate and get people to work together on G Suite, right, there would be very little products which will be able to do that. The inherent nature of the tool itself helps people collaborate much better. Now, when we leveraged every bit of it during the COVID, I remember, and Mridul would know this, there were offers and campaigns which were running during the COVID, and Mridul took advantage, or Kirloskar Group took advantage of all the free tools and the meets which were given, the meet which was available, and we held meetings which was more than 200 people, 100 people, 150 people in the same training group, and we could multiply this, right? The ripple effect was there. So using the tools inherent nature of collaboration, using the various meet functions and the meet modalities, the top-down push which Alika and Mridul provided, that helped to the cause. And there's one important other part which made the job easier, was Arca Finance was always a user, right? They had experienced G Suite for some point in time, so they knew how to use the system even if there's a little bit of a change, and they became the authority. Whenever a question was asked up, they raised their hand and said, we have done this in this particular fashion. So when you have an internal authority, when you have an internal champion, somebody who's championing the cause, the change management becomes that much more easier. So the technology helped us do it easy way because the tool supported us, but the management of the organization helped us to do it. So the job which might seem difficult became comparatively easy. I think that would be the answer to the question.
Right, great. Anika, there is one more question for you, which is that since there is a major shift in the culture of the company with moving to G Suite, how did you ensure, how did you maximize the adoption of the new productivity tool?
Okay, so I think there were a couple of things done here. As people were moved, yes, training was given so that they can, so that our colleagues could understand like how to use the different applications and features. But also, like we would make sure people are actually using them, like chat, for instance. Like I'd send them like messages on chat, or send them things from my drive. And make sure they figure out, how to collaborate, because that's the only way. Like if they're not doing it, then I have to, push them in some way and make sure that they can do that. And basically this was one way in ensuring it. Then I think the Google champions also came in, helped out internally, because and then there were like at least, I think, like 100 or more Google champions within the company, so they provided further support as well. So I think that helped as well. So slowly I do see people moving more and using the drive, which I had not seen before. Like I think they were still sending attachments and things like that to from the email, but now slowly, I mean, this is helping them shift and understand how to use it and take it forward.
Great, thank you for that response, Alika. Shashi, there's a question for you, and the person wants to know that how can Sears help us in getting our Microsoft Excel dependence come down? That's one product which our teams have been using since inception, and we are a fairly traditional large organization.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very valid question which gets raised to us and Google all the time, right? The first part of the story that you have to always make heavy Excel users very, very comfortable by saying, this is not a rip and replace process, right? If something cannot be done, and if it would not be able to, they'll not be comfortable, they should be given the reason that there'll be a recourse for them. So each time that you talk to Microsoft users, I think that confidence they should have. But generally how it works, Shipra, is any organizations and generally the heavy Excel users will be within the finance team, within the payroll team, or within typically the IT teams, not the IT teams, but generally the Excel users who are doing the strategy part of it. And in these situations, you'll always have a mix of users where 5 or 10% will be the last adopters for it, right? Take that time for it, identify them, let them know that, while we're working across, we'll find ways and means to help you. The second part of it is when people get confidence that 95 to 98% of what they do in Excel is all available in sheets, right? And everything, there is a recourse and option to it, the confidence building measure starts going up. So these two things together in tandem, right? First of all, help them experience the product, let them see what features and what functions are there. Do not push and shove this across the product if something they believe is not happening, right? And let them take the last leap or the last time part of it. And if it does not work, we have had situations, and on the call there is nothing wrong in saying sometimes 5%, 2%, 10% of the organization may not move entirely off the office suite, right? They can still use the collaboration, but they may not move because they are so entrenched and the data is so large. But I think the important part is give them the confidence that you will not shove it to them, and all the necessary suites and functions what is there on Excel is available, and let them adopt and let them change at their own speed is the best way that we have seen it has worked.
I hope that answer helps. So I have time to take just one more question since we just have a minute left. Perhaps we can take this question. So Heather, there's a question for you, which is that which latest Chrome browser supports G Suite? In place of Chrome, which other browser we can use for it, as we are still using many Windows 7 machines which do not support higher Chrome versions?
I'm actually not sure, but I do know that we can use it on Internet Explorer as well. I would probably, I don't know if there's a way that we can just get back to you on what are the lowest versions. But I do know while our preference is to use the Chrome browser, you can use some of the other browsers as well, and the experience is the same.
Sure, sure. I think we are almost at 4 o'clock, so we will wrap it up here. Thank you so much, Alika and Mridul, for taking our time today for this session and for sharing your journey with us so candidly. So there are a lot of key takeaways and learnings for our audience today to go back with. And thank you, Heather, for moderating that discussion flawlessly. And Shashi, for your time as well. So with that, I would like to thank our audience as well for taking out time to join us for this session. And since it's a long weekend coming up here, I would like to wish all a great weekend and stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.